Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. My name is Lindsay Funtick, and I am the coordinator of Volunteer Ministries.
I'm Alan Bevere, and I'm the pastor here at Ashland First United Methodist Church.
And welcome to your weekly preview. Every Monday morning, we hop on to share.
Yes, it is November 9th.
Somehow.
2020. Boy, what a great weekend.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
It was gorgeous. We hiked in Mohican.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was so stunning.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It was just wonderful. But anyway, I know some people already have taken advantage of the good weather to set up their Christmas decorations outside.
It's smart.
Little soon for me, but
It's
it makes sense.
strategic.
It does make sense.
Wait till it's not freezing outside.
But it is inevitable that at some point your pumpkin spice will give way to peppermint.
You know, and I am also a lover of peppermint.
Are you a lover of peppermint?
They had a 2 for $5 sale on creamer, and I got pumpkin spice and peppermint mocha.
Right.
So
you are
good to go.
Boy,
yeah.
So you got the seasons figured out when it comes
really
to
caffeination.
Caffeination, is that the word?
Caffeinating myself.
Caffeinating, yeah. Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
Well, so we're going to get into the update on the week, but first we do want to make an announcement on the current situation with COVID in the church. The leadership, we've been having some conversation the past couple of weeks about what to do in the future depending on how things go with this COVID. Right now, Ashland County is in red, as most of the state is. And of course, we have been meeting, but we want to say two things to you. First is we did decide that should we go into purple at some point, and we sure hope that doesn't happen, obviously. Should we go into purple, we will suspend all in-person gatherings as long as we are in purple. So we hope that doesn't happen. We will continue to meet while we're in red, but we also want to highlight the importance of you doing what you need to do. We want everybody to be safe. So if you're uncomfortable in this time about being in worship, we will be, of course, sending out all the services every Sunday, so you'll be able to watch and worship at home. But we will continue to meet in person unless we end up in purple. And the other thing I'm going to say is that, you know, if there are smaller groups that meet periodically, and as long as we're in this color, you're welcome to meet. But again, we just want people to not to hesitate to do something different if you feel that. And along with that, we want to update you in reference to Celebrate Recovery. So
So Wednesday, the Celebrate Recovery leadership has decided that we are going to be moving to Zoom. So we did that when we were kind of in the thick of the initial quarantine and shutdown, and it actually did work well. We got some new people coming in via the Facebook Zoom links, but we have made the decision to move online. So stay tuned for more details on that, how that might work. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Yeah, and I think one of the important things to say in reference to that is one of the things we hope that will come out of this is that there will be some people who have not been coming because of COVID who will join in for the Zoom meeting. You know, I think it's important to remember that folks in recovery, you know, this is not the reason why folks in recovery go to these meetings is because they need this. It's a constant, it can be a constant issue if you're trying to stay away from substances or other things. And if you're not comfortable with being in person, then you don't have anything. So at least on Zoom, some of these folks can join us. And hopefully that will be a help to them and a good ministry to them.
Yeah, and with Celebrate Recovery, if you make the decision not to come join us for in-person worship, just know that in general, you are supported and you are loved.
That's right.
And so if you need anything, let us know. We can check in with you. Even if it's not in person, we are walking through this together.
Yep. Call us on the phone anytime.
Yes. Carrier pigeons.
Our cell phone carrier pigeons.
Mhm.
I think those went extinct.
Oh, sad.
Right, if I'm not mistaken, it was right after the First World War.
Oh, I don't remember that. Were you in your teens when that was
yeah,
happening?
Yeah, I
Okay.
was just a young lad.
I wasn't around
Yeah.
yet. So.
Yeah, and my carrier pigeon business went south. So
Sad.
that's what happened. So I don't think carrier pigeons are an option.
Okay, so
Okay.
telephone.
But anyway, we're glad to talk to you anytime.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right, so let's get to the weekly schedule. Tonight is Uniontown Bible Study. We are in the last chapter of the book of James. James chapter 5, where James is going to talk about the importance of prayer and faith. And we will finish that up. And then we'll probably take maybe a week or two. I don't know, maybe a week or two break. And then Pastor Tom Snyder is going to do something for the season of Advent. So be watching and looking in your Facebook page and email and other things for more specific information on when Pastor Tom will start. But we'll finish up James tonight.
And it's been a great discussion, too.
It has been a great discussion.
It's been very relevant.
Well, it has, yes, absolutely.
Taming the tongue.
Taming the tongue.
Tell
yeah,
ya.
Tongues need tamed today.
They do.
And we're all at times guilty of that.
Mhm.
Yep,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So, Tuesday.
Yes, so Tuesday we will have our normal 10 a.m. Bible study. So watch for that in your email and on Facebook. And then Wednesday, we, as always, will have prayer respite from 11 to 12. So please feel free to come and join. We want to make it as many connection points as possible and as a heart of an emphasis on prayer as we can. So this is a safe space. Come and be at peace. And as we mentioned, Wednesday night, CR will be via Zoom. So if you are interested in learning more about that, watch the CR Facebook. We'll post the links on the church page as well. So we'll make sure we have plenty of connection points with that as well. So come join us there. It's a great place to process.
Yeah. Thursday, Book of Revelation, we're going to continue our flyover. So we're going to start with chapter 6 and go to chapter 20, which is a chunk of material. But what we'll do is just highlight the big movements of the Book of Revelation, or the big drama, because I think Revelation is a drama, a big drama of the Revelation, and then move toward the end and kind of sum up. So we're going to be meeting maybe another couple of weeks, 3 weeks. We won't meet Thanksgiving, obviously, but we're winding down to the end. So we're going to do that big flyover Thursday night. And just continue. And I was reading some folks posting stuff on social media this weekend after the election, and I kept thinking, you should have taken my Revelation study. If you'd have taken my Revelation study, you wouldn't have said that. No.
But people need to listen to you, Alan. For better, for worse.
For better or for worse.
Yes, it's been great. So if you are interested, Revelation Thursday.
Yeah.
So Saturday, as we know, Saturday was the rain date for the volunteer leadership retreat. And Alan and I had a really good discussion this morning, and between kind of low attendance or low RSVPs, people have a lot going on right now. And just for an overabundance of caution when it comes to COVID, because the retreat was going to be happening in Dowk Hall, and it's not as easy to spread out in Dowk Hall as it is in the sanctuary. We have decided to once again cancel the retreat, and stay tuned, because it's all planned, it's all ready to go.
Yeah, it is.
And we're hoping to do it in the spring or the summer when ministries are kind of back up and we can hit the ground running. So I apologize for any whiplash you might have gotten as I've planned and canceled, but we really do feel like this is kind of where the Spirit was leading us. I hope that this is a wise decision, but know that even though we're not retreating together, ministry is still happening, and we'll have, again, connection points in the future.
Well, I mean, I appreciate that one of the reasons that we've had to schedule and cancel it is because you've wanted to meet, because you've wanted us to continue as much as possible as normal. So I mean, it's done not out of haphazardness, but done because it's important, and we've been wanting to do that. So I appreciate that, but I think we also just need to to recognize the reality of the situation we're in,
Mhm.
and just keeping on and doing what we're doing, and
Yeah.
knowing that we will have this retreat.
Yep.
And one of the good things about it is if we have it, as everything starts to loosen up, boy, we can hit the ground running.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yes, and I was telling Alan, I turned 29 on Friday. This is my last week as a 28-year-old. It's a big week. And Saturday, I'll just rest and eat leftover cake. So have some cake yourself if you'd like to celebrate Saturday as well, but from the safety of your home.
Yeah. So I will ask you what I always ask my children when they
Mhm.
have a birthday,
Mhm.
is I'll say, how does it feel to be halfway to, what is it?
Almost.
50, 50, 50, 58.
A couple of ministry leaders trying to do math. Halfway
58.
to 58.
Halfway to, how's it feel to be halfway to 58?
It feels pretty good. My
Yeah.
my joints are not as strong as they used to be,
Yeah.
but I was telling John the other day that if I were to die tomorrow, I feel like I've lived an okay life.
Right,
So
good.
I feel
Good for you.
confident, and I think that I'm going to peak in like my 40s or 50s. I think I'll really come into my
Yeah.
own when
Yeah.
I reach what your age?
58 for a little bit.
58.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I wish you for long life, not
Thank
only
you.
because you should have a long life, and it'll be great to have a long life, but I want you to live long enough to be able to say, oh, to be 29
Yes.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
So, yeah.
Yes.
So anyway,
Lots ahead.
as I encouraged you yesterday, I just got news for you. It doesn't get better as far as
It doesn't get better.
Yeah, but that's good. So anyway, well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
So,
So as we move into Sunday, we have a couple things due on Sunday. Poinsettia orders to make our sanctuary beautiful
Mhm.
as we enter the Advent season. And also the Samaritan's Purse Operation Christmas Child shoe boxes. It's so fun to go shopping for kids. I I love walking through the toy aisle and seeing all of the clever things that they have. So please, they're still available in the concourse. Grab one, shop, pray over it, bring it back on Sunday.
yeah. And that reminds me, we hadn't talked about, but back to COVID
Mhm.
in the church, is that we've also made the decision about Christmas Eve services.
Oh, yes.
And that is that as long as the color does not go into purple, we will have an in-person Christmas Eve service, but we're going to limit it to 70 people with signups. So we're going to get that information out there soon. So the first 70 people that sign up will be able to attend in person. We have calculated that we can have up to 100 in worship safely, but we had some persons who felt strongly, and I agree,
Mhm.
that we need to have some space open in case there are people who come in off the street on Saturday.
Yes.
It's important for us, if we can help it, not to turn visitors away.
Mhm.
So we're going to limit it at 70, which will give us room for 30. Of course, obviously, if we have less than 70, we'll have more space.
Mhm.
But that's what we're going to do. We'll meet at the regular time, but it will also be. And I think what we're going to do is we usually tape the service and then get it out right after.
Mm.
But this one will be live streamed, so we will live stream it so everybody can be celebrating Christmas Eve together. I'm guessing the decision has not yet been made. I'm guessing candlelight will be out, and I think for a couple of reasons. One is just it's hard then to social distance if you're passing the candles. Second thing is that masks can be flammable. And
This is
that's
a
just
very
one of those
good
things
point.
that we should think about. I always worry every year that someone's going to accidentally set their bulletin on fire. And before you think that can't happen, it's happened twice in services.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, and there's a moment of terror when you're singing Silent Night and you see this light in the corner of your eye getting brighter and brighter, and you look over and some guy's put his bulletin on fire. Yeah.
Screams fill the
Yeah,
silent night.
so that probably won't happen, but
Sure.
we'll try to figure out, an alternative to make it as meaningful as we can.
Sure.
All right.
Yes.
Sorry for the interlude there.
No, that's all right. Tell us about the sermon on Sunday.
So the sermon Sunday, I'm going back on lectionary, and the Old Testament reading is from Judges chapter 4 on Deborah, the judge.
I love Deborah.
And I don't think I've ever preached on this passage before, but I wanted to preach on it. And by the way, let me say that I think some of you know this, that I plan my sermons out ahead of time, that I will look at, because I need to get the information up for everybody else who's working in the service. So I look at the texts, try and decide what I'm going to preach on from which text, or combination. And then I try and come up with a theme, even though I know that could change a little bit as you actually prepare the sermon.
Sure.
But one of the reasons I chose this was because it's Deborah. And you don't see too many female leaders in the Bible. We have some, but the Bible was a man's world. It just was.
Yes.
And so when you get a female leader, it's something that should be noticed.
Yes.
So I thought I need to do that. Now I did this. I figured this out back in September, having no idea that our first female vice president may very well become vice president in January. It's not completely certified yet, but it looks like it may go that way. So I just thought that was kind of interesting how that worked out.
Yes.
And I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the vice president, but
Sure.
I think one of the things that's important, and I've believed this for a long time, that our young girls and our young women growing up in the church need to see female leadership in the Bible, because it's there.
Yes.
And that's very important.
Yes. And I was reflecting on that. I wrote a poem about that, actually.
Yes.
The fact that, no matter where your politics stand, it's really exciting to see a woman in the White House. Yeah. And for me as a woman in ministry, Deborah was one of the figures that I'm like, this is okay. Yeah. Like I can do this, and I felt empowered seeing that example. And so I agree. There's so much power in seeing the people.
Yeah. And I think it also needs to be said, as a man and as a white man, I have seen I have seen leaders who look like me my entire life, right? Most of the pastors I've known have been men, and others in the private sector and also in government have all been white male, and so I have not had to sort of feel like that was something that could never be attained. And I have to say, friends, to my friends who don't really think that's a big issue. Talk to some women and some minorities, It's a big issue.
It really is. I'd be happy to have that conversation.
You said something to me I never forgot. Last fall, we went, it's been over a year now. We went to up toward Bucyrus Way, Upper Sandusky, because our Methodist church was giving back some land to some Native Americans who gave it to them a century ago, because essentially our government was going to confiscate it. And so the Native American tribe turned this land, basically gave it to the white Methodists, before they fled west. And after 100+ years, we gave it back, which is really cool.
It really is.
We gave it back.
I will never forget that.
But the one thing you told me, because you attended that with several of us, you said for the first time in your life, you saw a female bishop.
Yes.
And it was Bishop Malone, and there she was wearing the collar.
Yes.
And because you grew up in a context where you didn't see women as leaders.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was just so powerful.
Yeah. It was like, wow.
Yeah, I tear up just thinking about it. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And that's what I was telling Alan last week, like, we need women in the pulpit. We need astronaut Barbie, like now we have the example of Kamala Harris. Astronaut Barbie, like there's nothing wrong with pop star Barbie, but we also have these little girls who are playing with these dolls and dreaming about different futures that are now obtainable. It's amazing.
But please don't tell me we need astronaut Ken.
No, we have enough. We have enough men.
So anyway, so I just think that's something we all need to consider. And you're absolutely right. You don't have to agree with Kamala Harris's politics. And there's places where I disagree with her.
Sure.
But you can appreciate the fact that is quite an event.
Indeed.
And so anyway, I just want to talk about Deborah next week. And just to say, here is somebody who answered the call to be a deliverer, to be a judge over Israel, and was faithful to that call and led her people well. Yeah. And that's just important to know. And so what do we do? So the other question becomes then, what do we do with the unlikely leaders in our midst? How do we deal with the people who surprise us?
Oh, I love that.
Okay, so we'll see how that goes.
Yes.
All right.
So tell us what's on your mind.
All right, so it's back on my mind today. So What's on my mind today is a concern I've had for a long, long, long time. And that is how we as Christians, and I'm thinking specifically of Christians here, how we as Christians discern the truth. We live currently in a context where there's a whole lot of misinformation, a whole lot of stuff that's just made up, just fabricated. And so many Christians just are not discerning in what they share and what they buy into. That, one of the problems is all of us have a problem with confirmation bias, right? Confirmation bias is I tend to embrace the stuff that confirms me and my views.
Sure.
I tend to just reject the stuff that doesn't confirm my views. So what can happen that if I don't check my confirmation bias, I end up in an echo chamber where the only people I'm reading, the only people I'm talking to, the only friendships I have are just people who see things the way I do, people who vote the way I do, people who embrace only the church traditions that I do, people who embrace only a particular kind of theology that I do. And when that happens, we can no longer be discerning, because one of the ways we become discerning is be willing to expose ourselves to people with different perspectives, people with different ideas, and also to be discerning about how we determine what is competent and reliable information and what is just simply not true, simply twisted and manipulated, or just simply fabricated. And that the standard of judgment is not what I believe. The standard of judgment is not what I want. I've always wanted to be a little taller than 5'7", but I can say I'm 6 foot till I'm blue in the face, and it's never going to happen. And sometimes I think that's what we do as Christians, is that we embrace what somebody else says if it works for us. And I always want to say, is that really what it means to pursue the truth? Do I engage with people, read things, and do different things? Do I only look to those things that just confirm me and not worry about if they're true? Or do I engage myself in ways that I get different kinds of information, different perspectives, and it helps me to be discerning? Now, what I'm not talking about here is two people who can look at the same credible material and come to different conclusions.
Sure.
That happens all the time, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just embracing stuff that just is crazy. I mean, and so why this is important for me as the church is we believe Jesus. We say Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. If I'm going around just spreading and posting, and this has gotten worse with the advent of social media. Yeah. Whatever I think is right, and not even made an attempt to see if it's true. If I show myself to be incompetent with the daily facts of life, why would anyone believe me when I tell them Jesus is the truth? Why would they believe me?
Yeah.
And I think this is a missional issue. And I think that when we just willy-nilly accept whatever we want to believe, we undermine the mission of the gospel. This really concerns me. And it's and because of social media, it's getting worse. Misinformation and rumors have always been out there. I think ever since human beings could think.
Yes.
But the reality is it's just terrible now, because you can start conspiracies and you can start rumors and have them spread like wildfire in just a matter of a few minutes or a few hours.
Yeah.
Christians in a world that wants the truth to be what they want, we Christians cannot afford that. The truth has to be what it is, and the truth is beyond what I believe. The truth is beyond what I feel. And I just can't make it true because I just hope it is.
And we can partner with the Spirit in discerning that. The Spirit has been given to us for that wisdom and for,
the community has always come together to try to discern what is true. But another thing that I say is that if everything you want is always the will of God, and whatever you don't want isn't the will of God, you're doing it wrong. Okay? Because you can encounter a lot of people in the Bible who found out the will of God was not what they wanted.
Yes.
Right? So we just have to be discerning on that. I think it's a real important issue. I don't think this is minor and trivial.
Sure.
We need to be careful and be discerning.
Yeah.
Also, because I will say the truth is not always easy to come to,
Mhm.
right? It's
Yeah.
just not always plain. It's not
Yeah.
always clear. So you got to do some digging.
Sure.
Okay, that's what's on my mind today.
Yeah, thank you for those insights.
Yeah.
So how about I'll close us in prayer
Okay.
as we head into the week.
All right.
So, Lord, we thank you so much for today. We thank you for this gorgeous weather. We thank you for the nation in which we live. We thank you for the community that we get to surround ourselves with. And I just ask, Holy Spirit, that you would empower us to be the presence of Jesus in whatever circle we are walking in today, in this week. I pray that you would give us insight, that you would give us discernment, and that you would ultimately give us the love of God to share with others. We ask a blessing over this week, over AFUMC as we are doing these ministries, over those who make up our faith family. And we look forward to coming together as one person, or one body, one Lord, one baptism, as we learned yesterday, again next week. In your sweet and precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, everybody have a great week.
And this is the last, I think, really warm day of the week. So enjoy it.
Enjoy it. Yes. See you soon.
Take care.